Hi there. Welcome to Tech Talk Weekly. I'm Bob from Creation Station. This is our weekly show where we give you 4 or 5 interesting tech, science, creation type stories in the news this week. Send you on your way in about 20 minutes. If there's a story you'd like us to cover, reach out. Creation Station at broward.org. It comes right to me. Today, I don't have a guest host with me from one of the creation stations. So we're just going to dive right into it with our listener story from last week that I mentioned at the top of the show last week, because there might be life out there. Maybe, possibly, could be. So 140, 170 light years away. So it's not like we're getting there anytime soon, but scientists found through James Webb and some other types of telescope maneuvering around and examining what the actual atmosphere of a potential habitable planet is. And this is what we've been searching for a long time. We have been pointing this at the exoplanets that are out there, and we know there are thousands of them. And we've been trying to pick ones that are in the Goldilocks zone. Earth is in the Goldilocks zone. That means you're at the right spot away from your primary star so that you can receive enough radiation, light, warmth, etc., without being too hot and too cold. Goldilocks. We found another planet. We found many other planets that are in Goldilocks zones. And we found a planet that has the right kind of atmosphere and the right kind of stuff in the right spot. And we think there might be life there because of how the reaction is in the atmosphere. Looks like it is something that could be algae. Just like our oceans have algae in them, and as algae is a plant and it emits and it gives off different chemical reactions to what's going on around it, this might be something that's happening out there at this other planet. We don't know. We're not going to know for a long time. But this is one of those steps. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, where if you know something is good or bad, whether you've proven or disproven your theory, it narrows down what the other stuff is that you can do with this theory. And so in our show notes, as always, we give you the links to everything. And there's a really great story on Gizmodo that takes it apart piece by piece and puts different scientists who have examined this data and then looked at it and said, okay, well, this is the good stuff. This is the bad stuff. This is where it is. And effectively, currently, why some people believe this is a possible life form is because we can't prove it's not. We do not have a good theory right now on why this would be in an atmosphere of this kind of planet if it's not some sort of very basic life. No one's looking for television shows coming from that place. Can you imagine what they think about us seeing our television shows? But this chance here is, if this biological signal, if it really is one, then we have now proven there is life out there, not just us. It's going to take a lot more work. It's going to take a lot more examination, refining techniques, finding the same kind of stuff at other systems, other exoplanets out there, and figuring out exactly what, where, how, and whether what we can do about it. And the real answer is nothing yet. Until we get a lot more advanced in our space travel and a lot more advanced in our technology, it's just going to be good to know we are not alone. There are other inhabitable planets out there, and there are other life out there. No one's calling it intelligent yet, but there's other life, and that's enough to figure it out, which is a great thing, which was going to be my cool story of the week of, oh, hey, this is a great thing. Until I came across this one out there. So in Wales, in the United Kingdom, they are raising puppies to fight poachers, wildlife poachers in sub-Saharan Africa. It is a huge problem still, unfortunately. especially with rhinos and elephants, where there are poachers who will go out and hunt the animals, kill them just for the horn, just for the ivory, and leave the carcass rotting behind. And or, as you will see farther down, it's very fun for all of the different types of things. This is a great story. You need a smile. You need something to go out there and see, just a fun little story out there in the crazy world right now, all about how they've trained these puppies in Wales, despite the fact that there are very few rhinos running around in Wales, as the article points out. They are able to train them. Some of these puppies get trained at 2 days. They're born, and within 2 days, they're already being exposed to the correct signals of this is what you're looking for. This is what's going to be around you. This is a natural thing to find. And so they can train them, and they teach them all the hunting tricks and all of the stuff. And the article opens up with a good example of hunting down poachers and finding rhinos and such. And then they go down and find the tracks, the details of where an animal has been hunted, killed, and go back to find where the rest of those parts are that went off with the poacher and recover them, in theory. And hopefully they'll be able to recover them. It's a fun, really good story. Some nice pictures. Go through and do it. It is kind of disturbing. There's still 600 rhinos a year being killed, which is an insane number. Considering we only have thousands left. So everything we can do that's a good thing to fix this, I'm all for. And it makes it a great story. This one was one of those really nice smile stories out there, from out there in the rest of the world. And then we have a weird story for you. There's a new color. So let's explain how this works. Your eyes see color. I've actually got a nice little chart in here. By the way, as always, we provide you with the actual scientific paper, so you can go read all the details here, which gets a little confusing sometimes, about how the Oz colors, as they're calling them, work. But effectively, they've called this new color OLO, O-L-O. And what happens is they shoot lasers at your retina. Let's be clear, do not do this at home. Period. Please don't. You need a special green laser. Then you shoot this in microbursts at a retina to blur out certain signals to the retina. And here's a little chart here that if you're watching on the live feed, or if you're just watching the video afterwards, there's a little chart here that shows the 3 types of cones that are in your eyes. And the M curve, the M cones, are the ones that are in control of this particular bandwidth of color, we'll call it, with the saturation, etc., and all those things. Our photographer friends out there could explain all that in detail to you that I can't. However, what they do is they stimulate these cones to eliminate the other wavelengths, so it's only the M band, and then those M cones highlight, and the 5 people so far, only 5 people on the planet have seen this, see a color that doesn't match anything else that they know about. So is it really a new color that no one's ever seen before? It's a new color proof is what I'll call it, because somebody could have seen this, because you could have had a mutation. You could have had all sorts of other things. And remember how we've all described different colors to different people. I am colorblind. I describe colors, and my wife will just freak out about, no, that's not that. What are you talking about? So yes, cool new colors, maybe eventually. This is not something that's going to be usable to create something new that everybody could see, but it's a really great example of how to use medical technology to examine how our bodies work and how other things work. And it could lead to new photography and other visual effects happening and being working on to change, which leads us into our other story about eyes, which is in Korea. they have come up with another one of these scientific stories, and we've got the paper there, of course, for you there. It's the restoration of retinal regenerative potential of the Mueller glia by disrupting intercellular PROX1 transfer. Yeah. Basically, what this means is they have figured out when someone's retina has degraded and now you are partially blind or all the way blind and it's retinal, not your cornea, but the retina in your eye. They can now have new drug that can intercept part of the signals and have your retina recover and rebuild so that you can see again. Think about that. Someone who used to have sight, who has gone blind because their retina has degraded so badly, they now have a technique that they will be able to give you this particular drug and it will rebuild your retina for you so you can see again. That's an insanely impossible thing that no one ever thought could happen. And this university in Korea has proven it will work in theory. They're going to start clinical trials to make sure it's safe for humans because this is a new drug. You got to do all those testing stuff. But they've proven that it actually works on paper, and now they just have to prove that running it in a human will actually work also. This is one of the advances science has done with all these advanced computer models. They can do all of this new testing without having to put it into a human first, and then we can see what happens. So clinical trials starting on this later this year or early next year, and we will find out how fast they can produce this drug. It's not something from the United States. This is something from Korea. They will be building and doing, and hopefully they'll be able to spread it out around the rest of the planet. But it's going to be really, really interesting. It's a stem cell type thing of replacing. It's just dive into this story. In my family, we have a little history of blindness, so this really hit home for me. And I really find that this is one of those, man, why couldn't this come a few decades ago? And hopefully it'll just stop other people from having to deal with any of these problems. Okay, one last story to cover right now for you. And this one is a little bit counterintuitive coming from a library. So two publications. There's actually a New York Times story and a couple of other stories about this same topic in the last couple of weeks, but two that came out this week is about, should we have a government database of all of our information? This is a technology story because partially it's something that wasn't able to be done in the past, but it wasn't able to be done in the past on purpose. And there's a really great write-up on this over from the American Enterprise Institute that gives you a full listing of where the original laws in the 70s came up with and how these databases, when they were first starting computers to track all this kind of stuff, they made conscious decisions to take this database and add it this information and a separate database to add other information and put it together so that no one government agency had all of the information in one basket. At the time, it was designed partially for political reasons, partially for technological reasons, because we just didn't have computers able to handle all that information at once. And it evolved also from different legal perspectives of who should have what information. And now, under our current federal administration, they are talking about changing some of these database rules and such. And so the links are in the show notes there, because I want you to read about what the difference is in a political thing and what the difference is in a technological piece. And the real core of the technological piece that I want to talk about is that if you just take data and combine it into one thing, as any librarian will tell you, you have to go check that data first. You can't just add it in and then go back and check, because you'll never be able to figure out where your mistakes came from in the first place. So part of this as a technology thing is saying, okay, we've got this database that's running really old and really slow, COBOL, etc. COBOL is a programming language for anybody out there who doesn't know what that term is. There are databases and things designed prior to 2000 that are still running because governments move in a very slow pace and they have to be very careful. So they have to build these things and they have to stand the test of time for that. Then you have other databases that may or may not be in a useful area, and other ones that you might want to, I'm looking for the quote here. Here we go. So bringing in AI. We're all thinking right now about AI possibilities and what's going on here and how you could use that to scan all this data. And it sounds on the surface like it's a really cool thing, except everybody listening to this, I hope, understands, and you've heard stories about how AI doesn't quite get it right yet. I question if it'll ever be 100%. That's a different show. For this story, I want you to be thinking about the idea of when you're hearing news stories and you're talking about these things with your friends and family about the technology side of it. I'm ignoring the political thing. I don't care about that. What I care about is you can't mix these databases until you've all actually vetted the database first and then design a third separate place to put the two pieces of data and then vet that third place. And then you can start looking at things. That's all of that. There's political stuff in especially in one of the stories here that talks about why it's a bad idea and surveillance state and all those things. And I'm not getting into those pieces of it because that is your own personal feeling in a way. I have strong feelings that it shouldn't happen, but I'm not the one in charge to decide that. What I do is work on those database sides. And I want to make sure these things are staying the same and working correctly. And that's not going to happen in 6 months. That's not going to happen in 6 years, probably. They've been trying to upgrade some of these databases. Some of you will remember the Y2K work. And some people say, oh, see, nothing happened. And it's like, yeah, because so many people worked so hard getting ready for it that nothing really happened. We had a few minor cascading problems, and that's it. This is the same kind of thing. We need to plan ahead and work on this for a good 10, 15 years. And by the time we're all done, yeah, we could have some really good, high quality new databases. But we can't let the old ones go away. There's a dark data issue. And archiving talks about that a lot. If you watch our collections Creation Station monthly show back in March, they talked a little bit about how do you keep those collections going and stuff like that when you're trying to find somebody's old history and stuff. Enough on that for today. Do reach out for us, though, because 3 of these stories today came from listener comments or questions that they submitted on Facebook or YouTube or through Spotify or whatever, or just emailed us. So please email us, creationstation@broward.org, and we'll try to fit your story on the air next time. Hit like and subscribe, and we'll see everybody next week.